Good afternoon, students. This is Arvind, Assistant Professor, Department of Electrical, USIT, Kavali. So, in the previous class, I started IPFC concept, that is the equivalent power controller. I discussed why we are going into the IPFC like that. And now in this class, I am going to teach you the basic operating principles and characteristics of IPFC. Okay. So, coming to the concept. So, in its general form, the IPFC employs a number of DC to AC converters. So, in its general form, the IPFC employs a number of DC to AC converters, each providing series compensation for a different line. So, each providing series compensation for a different line. So, in other words, the IPFC comprises a number of static synchronous series compensators. IPFC comprises of a number of static synchronous series compensators, that is SSC. So, however, within the general concept of the IPFC, the compensating converters are linked together at their DC terminals. Okay, within the general concept of the IPFC, the compensating converters are linked together at the DC terminals, that is illustrated in the diagram, that is this one. So this is the internal power controller comprising N converters. So here we are taking N transmission lines, and here also we are taking N converters, that is converter 1, converter 2, converter N. So all the converters are connected to the transformer and to the transmission lines. And here we have control and optical links also there. Each converter consisting of a switches, and each are taking the DC supply to DC buses. So in this one, with this scheme, in addition to providing series reactive compensation, any converter can be controlled to supply real power to the common DC link from its own transmission line. So with this scheme, in addition to providing series reactive compensation, any converter can be controlled to supply real power to the common DC link from its own transmission line. So thus an overall surplus power can be made available from the underutilized lines, which then can be used by other lines for real power compensation. So thus an overall surplus power can be made available from the underutilized lines, which then can be used by other lines for real power compensation. So in this way, some of the converters compensating overloaded lines are lines with a heavy burden of reactive power flow. So some of the converters compensating overloaded lines are lines with a heavy burden of reactive power flow can be equipped with full two-dimensional reactive and real power control capability. Similar to that offered by UPFC. So evidently, this arrangement mandates the rigorous maintenance of the overall power balance at the common DC terminal by appropriate control action. So using the general principle that the underloaded lines have to provide help in the form of appropriate real power transfer for the overloaded lines. So consider an elementary IPFC scheme consisting of two back-to-back DC to AC converters, okay, each compressing a transmission line by series voltage injection. So this is the diagram. This is a basic two converter internal power controller scheme. So in this one we are taking two lines separately, and each line consisting of the insertion of the transformer, that means insertion of the reactor and sources. Okay, we have sending and receiving for both the lines. that is it consists of the voltages that is V1S, V2S and V1R, V2R, and here we have effective voltage at the sending end, that is V1 S effective and V2 S effective, and we have insertion voltage, that is V1 PQ and V2 PQ. Okay, and currents we have, that is I1 and I2, and voltage across the inductors is Vx1 and Vx2, and reactances X1 and X2. So this arrangement is shown functionally in this diagram, that is this one. Okay, so where two synchronous voltage sources with phases, that is V1 PQ and V2 PQ in series with transmission lines, that is 1 and 2, represent the two back-to-back DC to AC converters. So the common DC link is represented by a bidirectional link for real power exchange between the two voltage sources. The common DC link is represented by a bidirectional link for real power exchange between the two voltage sources. So here, taking the transmission line 1, it is represented by a reactance X1, has a sending end bus with voltage phasor, that is V1S, and receiving end bus voltage with the voltage phasor, that is V1R. So that is the explanation for this diagram. Okay. Next, the sending end voltage phasor of line 2. So here I am taking another one, that is the sending end voltage phasor of line 2, represented by reactance X2. It consisting of the voltage at the sending end and receiving end is V2S and V2R. So for clarity, all the sending end and receiving end voltages are assumed to be constant with fixed amplitudes, that is V1S, that is equal to V1R, and that is equal to V2S, and that is equal to V2R, and those all are equal to same value, that is 1 per unit, that is constant. So and with fixed angles resulting in identical transmission angles, that is delta 1, that is equal to delta 2, that is equal to 30 degrees for the two systems. Okay, the two line impedances and the rating of the two compensating voltage sources are also assumed to be identical, that is V1 PQ maximum is equal to V2 PQ maximum and X1 is equal to X2. The two reactances consisting of the same value, that is 0.5 per unit respectively. Although systems 1 and 2 could be different, in order to make the relationships governing the operation of the IPFC perspicuous, the above stipulated identity of the two systems is maintained throughout this section. So here we are taking the diagram. So here I will explain the characteristics of these things. Okay. So note that two lines are assumed to be independent. Okay, note that two lines are assumed to be independent and not in any phase relationship with each other. So in order to establish the transmission relationships between the two systems, that is system 1 is arbitrarily selected to be the prime system, for which free controllability of both real and reactive line power flow is stipulated. Next, the reason for this stipulation is to derive the constraints which the free controllability of system 1 imposes upon the power flow control of system 2. So a phasor diagram of system 1 defining the relationship between V1S, V1R and V1X. That is the voltage across the V1X1, that is V1X, and the inserted voltage phasor V1 PQ with controllable magnitude and angle is shown in the diagram. That is the voltage magnitude is between 0 to V1 PQ maximum and the angle is rho, that is 0 to 360 degrees. I will show those diagrams. Here this is for the first one. So IPFC, prime converter and corresponding phasor diagram. So this is the circuit diagram for the first one, that is. So here we are having insertion of voltage, that is V1 PQ, and sending end voltage V1S and receiving end voltage V1R. At the receiving end we are taking one inductor, that is X1. It consists of voltage Vx1 and it consists of the effective sending end voltage, that is V1s, and current I1, and it consists of the current, that is P12, and the phasor diagram for these things is shown here on the right side. So it consists of V1s, V1R, Vx1, V1s effective, and I1, and V1PQ, like that we are taking, and angles rho1 and delta 1 and delta 1 effect also is taken in this one. So as illustrated, this phasor diagram is identical to that characterizing the UPFC, that is this one. This is the reference diagram for this one. Okay. So for example, the rotation of phasor, that is V1PQ with angle rho1PQ, varies both the magnitude and angle of phasor, that is V1x, in a cyclic manner, and as a result, both the transmitted real power, that is P1R, and the reactive power, that is Q1R, also vary with rho1PQ in a sinusoidal manner, as illustrated for the UPFC in figure 8.7. So this is the phasor diagram representation of the UPFC. First one is for the variation of the receiving and real and reactive power, and the real and reactive power supplied by the UPFC, which is the angular rotation of the injected voltage phasor, that is in the B. Okay, P comma Q bar versus VPQ and rho with P comma Q bar angles diagram we will take. Okay. So the variation of the P1R and Q1R with rotating V1PQ maximum can best be illustrated in the Q1R, P1R plane shown together with the corresponding phasor diagram. That is in this one. Okay, so this is the variation of receiving end real and reactive power as a function of the injected compensating voltage in line 1. Okay, so in the left side we have the voltage phases, that is V1s and V1R, and at this condition the voltage across that one, that is VP, is 0, and here we have voltage compensation lines. Here we have power observed in the below the circle and power supplied in above the circle. Okay, coming to the next diagram. So in this one we are taking receiving and real and reactive power. Okay, so in this one the circle gives the injected compensating voltage in line 1. The circle gives the injected compensating voltage in line 1 with the varying angle, that is delta 1 is equal to 30 degrees. So here we have PQ control lines. Okay, and power supplied or power observed lines is also there. And in this one, the reactive compensation control line, that is P12 is 0. P12 is 0. So at the selected transmission angle, that is at the 30 degrees, the uncompensated system one, that is V1 is equal to 0. It transmits PR 30 degrees is equal to 1 per unit, real power 2, and absorbs QR3 30 degrees, that is 0.268 per unit reactive power from the receiving end. So as shown for the UPFC, the rotation of V1PQ maximum over 360 degrees produces a circular locus for P1R and Q1R with a radius of P1 square PQ plus Q1 PQ square whole power 1 by 2, that is equal to 0.5 per unit from the center defined by the coordinates, that is P1R at 30 degrees is equal to 1 and Q1R 30 degrees at 0.268 in the Q1R plane. Q1R plane. So this circular locus provides the boundary for the two-dimensional control range within which any corresponding Q1R and P1R values are achievable by the proper setting of magnitude, that is V1PQ and angle rho1PQ. So the compensation of prime system 1 described above is identical to that characterizing the operation of UPFC. So, however, in the case of UPFC, the real power exchanged through the series voltage injection is supplied via the shunt connected converter from the sending end bus. But in the case of the simple IPFC considered here, so in this one, real power is obtained from the other line via the series connected compensating converter of that line. So in order to establish the possible compensation range for line 2 under the constraints imposed by the unrestricted compensation of the line 1, it is helpful to decompose the overall compensating power provided for line 1 into reactive power Q1 PQ and real power P1 PQ. So to this end, the injected voltage phasor, that is V1 PQ, is decomposed into two components. One is V1 PQ in quadrature and the other V1 P in phase with the line current. Okay, in this one V1 PQ is decomposed into two components. One is V1 Q and another one is V1 P. So the V1 P is in quadrature with the line current and V1 P in phase with the line current. So the products of these with the line current defines Q1 PQ and Q1 PQ. So the component Q1 PQ generated initially by the converter 1 evidently provides a series reactive compensation for line 1. So the compensation P1 PQ provides real power compensation for line 1. But this power must be supplied for converter 1 by converter 2 from line 2. Okay, the component P1 P2 provides real power compensation for line 1, but this power must be supplied for converter 1 by converter 2 from the line 2. So it can be shown that if within the circular operation region of the injected voltage phasor, the magnitude of V1 PQ is controlled over the attainable range of angle rho, so that its end stays on a straight line trajectory parallel to the line connecting the ends of the sending end and receiving end phasors, that is illustrated at the left of the figure, that is 8.32. That is illustrated in the figure 8.32. That is this one. Left, that is left side of this right, that is power supplied Vp is equal to 0 and power observed and voltage compensation lines like that we are taking. This will illustrate that operation. Okay, so will illustrate the left of the figure 8.32. And next, so then the component of V1 PQ in phase with the freewheeling line current will result in constant real power demand. Constant real power demand, that is independent of angle rho. So this means that within the operating region of V1 PQ, the reactive compensation is variable along a voltage compensation line independent of the real power compensation. So the real power demand is by definition 0 when the trajectory of V1 PQ coincides with the reactive voltage compensation line, that is when V1 P is equal to 0 is maintained. So which divides the circular operating region into two equal halves. So an increasing amount of real power is to be supplied to system 1. Okay, an increasing amount of real power is to be supplied to system 1 as the compensation line is shifted higher and higher above the reactive voltage compensation line in the upper half of the control region. So conversely, increasing real power is to be observed from system 1 as the compensation line is shifted lower and lower below the reactive voltage compensation line in the lower half of the compensation region. So the voltage compensation line prescribed the trajectory of the phasor, that is V1 PQ for constant real power demand in the phasor diagram of system 1, define a linear relationship between the receiving end reactive and real power, that is Q1R and P1R respectively, within the circular locus representing the boundary of the control region in the line, that is Q1R, P1R, as shown in the right side of the figure, that is 8.32. So in this one, right side of this one, here we have peak control lines on the above and below this transition lines. Here we are taking the angle that is delta 1 is equal to 30 degrees. That is the chosen angle. So here the reactive compensation control line is 0. And with respect to the IPFC, with respect to the total IPFC scheme shown in the diagram, that is 8.30. Okay, the following conclusions can be drawn from the above discussion is the operating point of converter 1 compensating the prime system 1 can always be considered a point of a particular voltage compensation line. So the operation of the two converter IPFC scheme is illustrated with the help of complementary voltage compensation and Q1R versus P1R control lines in figure. That is, I will show the 5 diagrams, that is A, B, C, D and E. Okay, so for this illustration, 3 particular operating points of converter 1 marked like 1A, 1B and 1C are located on an arbitrarily selected voltage compensation line of the prime system 1. That is shown at the left of the figures, that is ABC diagram, in the ABC diagrams. So these are the diagrams we are taking. These are the phase diagrams and for the IPFC by controlled phase diagrams. Okay. So here we will see the 5 diagrams I am taking. So on the left side we have the 5 diagrams and on the right side we have the characteristic diagram of those values. Okay, in all the cases we are taking these. So I will explain these by using 3 operating regions. Okay, so coming to the operating point, that is 1A, the operating point 1A. So this operating point 1A is selected so that the injected voltage phasor, that is V1 PQ, is perpendicular to the resultant voltage phasor, that is V1X, across the transmission line impedance X1. And coming to the second operating point, that is 1B, it represents the maximum real power transfer attainable along the selected voltage compensation line of system 1, system 1. So as seen, the real power, that is P1R, is increased and the reactive power, that is Q1R, is decreased by about a factor of 2 relative to the values obtained with uncompensated V1 PQ is equal to 0 transmission. So coming to the next operating point, that is 1C, it represents the minimum real power transfer attainable with the voltage compensation line considered. So in the operating point B, it represents the maximum real power transfer attainable along the selected voltage compensation line of system 1. But in the operating point C, 1C, it represents the minimum real power transfer attainable with the voltage compensation line considered. So in comparison with the uncompensated transmission, okay, the real power Pi is decreased from 1 per unit to about 0.63 per unit, and the reactive power, that is Q1, is changed from minus 0.268 per unit to about plus 0.1 per unit. So these are the basic operating principles and characteristics of the IPFC, and in the next class I am going to discuss the multi-line power flow controllers. Okay, thank you for watching this video.